Good morning. This week we are working through 3 different databases from the Jerry Falwell Library to find sources that we possibly could use in our dissertation research. I've said this in previous videos, I'm probably about a year away from beginning the actual dissertation work for my program, maybe a year and a half away from that. But I've written about baseball several times throughout my program here at Liberty so far, in getting my master's in history and then starting the PhD program. And I don't necessarily know that that's going to be where I focus my dissertation work at, but every time I have to kind of choose something to write about, that's where I end up coming back to. It seems to be what I know well and what I enjoy writing about most is baseball history. Particularly baseball because it ties into American culture, society, economics, so it does a really good job of touching several categories. So it's easy to find a small sliver of baseball history to focus on. So I'm working towards narrowing that down. I feel that the turn of the century, late 19th, early 20th century period is one of the richest pieces of baseball history to work from. So that's kind of where I'm at with this week. 3 sources I used from the different databases: JSTOR, Oxford Academic, and the other one. So the first one is Bakken's At the Nexus of Labor and Leisure, Baseball and Nativism in the 1919 Black Sox Scandal. So this is a little bit beyond the time period that I'm really thinking of focusing on, but not too far outside of the time period. But the issue of nativism was a big issue, obviously, in our U.S. history in the early 20th century, and so this takes a look at how that piece of culture ties into baseball history and to a major scandal that occurred in 1919 with the Chicago White Sox throwing the World Series and leading ultimately to the banning of Shoeless Joe Jackson, who was considered probably one of the top 2 or 3 baseball players of the first century of the game. So so that article right there is helpful in one of the databases. The next one is from the Oxford Academic database, and that's called the Baseball Trust. So the Baseball Trust is interesting because when we talk about baseball in terms of American history and economics, baseball has had an antitrust exemption built into its system. And when studying the antitrust exemption along with the reserve clause that was in place for so long is something that is really worth noting. It's really worth looking at as we see it as being really outside of the main when it comes to economics in the United States. The fact that labor or players had no control over where they played, who they played for, etc., what city they lived in for so long. And then the third article, is Baseball and American Cultural Values, and it's a journal article from the Office of American History, American Historians Magazine of History. And basically what we're looking at right there is how baseball ties into American culture. It's a slice of Americana, and it's America's pastime. And so this short journal article covers a little bit of that. So again, I'm trying to touch on culture, economics, and society when it comes to baseball and its place in U.S. history, especially in the early 20th century. So I'll continue to look for sources that relate to those 3 areas and to that time period. Thank you.